Hey, what's your problem? You have business problems? We have business solutions.
Not guaranteed.
Well, maybe.
Sure.
Life is a fight.
It is.
In business, every day is a fight.
Good
So, hey, what's your problem?
Yes, thank you, John David Wells. And I actually did look him up on Facebook. He's still the host of the Wells Report. He is the voice of this illustrious podcast. He sounds like Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs and a host of other things. He's a radio guy, a big talk radio guy, and he and I work together in Las Vegas. A lot of good times happen with JD. Amazing man. Yes, this is the What's Your Problem podcast, where we talk to Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals about their business and the one thing, because it's always something, that keeps them up at night, i.e., what's their problem? This is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at whatsyourproblempodcast.com if you like to listen, if you want to watch. All the links are there. You can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube. I hear YouTube is the place to be these days, according to Mr. Vaynerchuk. I am your host, Jim McCarthy, with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com, and today I've got a longtime pal of mine, another fellow voiceover extraordinaire, Mr. Joe Loesch. How you doing, sir?
Good. I'm doing well. It's good to see you, Jim. It's been a long time.
It really is always good to see you. You know, you got the red glasses, the smiling face all the time, and it's always just a wonderful time had with you and chatting and stuff.
It always works for me. Talk to the guy in the red glasses.
That's right. I mean, that's your thing, you know. But you've been in voiceover a long time. A lot of the creative arts, a lot of film production, video production, music production, and we'll get into all of that. Of course, anybody who listens to the podcast, one of the things that we like to do first and foremost is the Random 5. The Random 5 brought to you by Culleoka Company. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. It is one of the most naturally technological cleaners out there. I'm not sure what really that means, but that's how I describe it. The technology are probiotics. And it's very natural because, probiotics are good for your gut, but apparently they're also good for getting things clean, especially cat urine out of carpets and stuff and garbage cans. It's crazy. Check it out. Links in the description. Here we go. Let me move over to the random question generator. Okay, question number 1, Joe. Is it better to live where there are 4 seasons or where one season takes up most of the year?
I think years ago I would have gone for the 1 season, but I'm glad to be in a 4-season area.
We're kind of leaning towards the hotter season here.
Are you?
You know?
Oh, yeah, we are.
I mean, I've experienced all 4 seasons this year quite enough. We had to do a couple of jobs up in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm good, and we had to go in March. And every day that we were there, it was a flippin' blizzard.
Yeah, I thought it was hot here until I went to Dallas a couple of weeks ago.
Phoenix. Oh, my goodness. Try Vegas. Yeah, Vegas.
I tried that, too.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. I lived there for 4 years. Question number 2. What's the biggest holiday for your family?
Oh, that's Christmas.
Christmas? Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine too. We enjoy Christmas. Thanksgiving's a biggie. We like Thanksgiving.
I think Christmas because I've got 2 granddaughters now, so that makes it extra special.
It really, I would imagine it does. That's cool. All right, question number 3. Do you wish there were more or less holidays, and why?
Oh, my goodness.
That's a good question.
I think there's just enough holidays.
Yeah.
We don't need another one. But they do come up with them all the time.
The greeting card industry certainly likes to invent them.
That's true.
They really do come out with more and more. Question number 4. If you had to get rid of what's with the holiday questions? Oh my goodness. If you had to get rid of a holiday, which would you get rid of and why?
I'm going to plead the 5th on that one.
We'll take that. If I had to get rid of a holiday, I guess it would have to be Arbor Day.
Arbor Day.
Not that anybody really celebrates it, but, you know.
Well, there was National Pancake Day, but I wouldn't get rid of that. I like pancakes.
I'm not sure if that's really a holiday, though.
Really? It should be.
I mean, are banks closed on that day? Or?
We're thinking about shutting them down.
All right, 5th. Oh, my gosh. What is with the holiday questions? All right, I'm going to start skipping through. They're all holidays. Why is it all holidays? Okay, here we go.
That's not right.
These are completely random, I promise you. We're going to make this question number 5. What are some of the good and bad things about the education system in our country? Let's get political. Why not?
I think it's great that they continue to rewrite history. That way, pretty soon we'll have nothing to learn from.
I've always talked about history, and people that have heard me on this podcast describe historical events. I mean, the victor always gets the right to history, right?
And that's true.
And I think that when history repeats itself, and I go, but this is why we repeat history. This is why we repeat history, because we don't know what it felt like in the first place.
Because we don't know history. Yes.
That's right. So getting into it, we talked about a whole bunch of stuff that is now slipping my mind.
Well, you mentioned Las Vegas. When did you live there?
01 to 05.
Okay.
I worked for CBS Radio at that point.
All right. See, I used to play in Vegas quite a bit with
Whereabouts?
With a band with Solid Gold. We used to record for KTEL Records.
Oh, really?
And
like a rhythm section kind of deal?
No, we would do sound-alike 50s, sound-alike 60s, that type of thing.
Okay.
We did them through Artco Records out of Oklahoma City, and the masters were leased to KTEL.
Now you're a guitar player, right? You don't slap at the bass.
I'm a bass player.
You slap at the bass. That's right.
And the mando sometimes.
Mandolin.
But I don't play slap mando.
So you do. You got the finger over kind of thing. You got this going on.
Yeah, that's always going on.
Right. You play bass with a pick.
No,
yeah.
I don't. Actually, I used to play guitar with the pick, but I lost the feeling in my thumb some years ago, and I started dropping my picks, so I had to learn to strum my guitar with my fingertips. And so, of course, I don't use a pick at all anymore with the bass.
Right. I guess after you do that for a while, you're going to start losing feeling in your fingers. I mean, I'm a drummer. I have no idea. I'm getting back into it, and I find that I'm going to have to start wearing gloves when I play drums. But, I see guys that play that like we saw, the band Anthrax?
Sure.
They're a thrash metal band. I was a huge fan of theirs for probably 30 years now. And we saw them recently of all places, at the Ryman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the reason why I even bought the tickets. I'm like, I got to see this. These guys at the Ryman, not only are they great seats no matter where you sit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the acoustics, you're not getting acoustics when you have a thrash metal band.
Yeah.
But the drummer, who has been a big influence on me for a long time in my life and playing, he wears gloves.
How about that?
He's going to be 60, so it's crazy.
What about Rich Redmond? Has he started wearing gloves yet?
He is not. I don't think. I think he's been playing so long that his calluses on his fingers are like gloves in and of themselves. So.
Well, I help him out when he's out of town. I bring his trash can in for him.
That's right. You were saying that. Well, Rich, if you're watching, you need to thank Joe next time. I'll certainly
mystery solved.
Mystery solved. He's like, who's been taking my garbage cans in? So tell me a little bit how you got started, because you've played in a lot of sandboxes coming up. You've done music. You've done, video production, audio production. Rumor has it that you even have a famous recording that was taken off of your back porch that made it onto a very famous country artist's song.
Oh, that. Okay. Yeah, that had to do with lightning, recording lightning on the back porch, and it became the main effect for Garth Brooks on the Thunder Rolls.
Thunder Rolls. So
I am the thunder.
The next time you hear that song, just know that thunder is authentic and was recorded right in Nashville.
And I took that. This was back when digital tape was coming around, because I was going from analog to digital.
Right.
And I was able to slow that thunder down just a little bit to get in the perfect key of D. Because I knew that the song was in D.
Oh my goodness.
And so I heard Garth talk about it once, and he said, and if you listen carefully, you can hear it's actually in tune with the song.
He has no idea that that's what you were going for. Yeah. Have you ever been able to tell him that? Or
no? No.
Have you ever met the man at all?
I met him in passing. I worked in a studio up in on West Nashville, and he was in there, and I said, "Hey, Garth, I did the Thunder on the Thunder Rolls for you," and he said, "Oh man, that's great! I really." And then somebody else walked up, and then he was gone.
Right. Yeah, it was ADD squirrel.
Yeah.
It's funny if you listen to the local radio station here, Mix 92.9. Once upon a time when I worked there, the program director, Barbara Bridges, came up to me and said, "Hey, we're going to be adding Big Shot by Billy Joel to the format." I said, "Okay, but there's one problem." Okay, he says, in the song, he says, "Don't come bitching to me. Is there any way that we can change that?" I go, yes. I can do that. So you can actually, I believe it's still on the radio station in this form where you actually hear me trying to replicate Billy Joel, but instead of saying bitchin', I say crying. So I literally just, took a karaoke track of the song, surgically found out and took out the place where he says it. I sung over it like a karaoke singer and then, massaged it in. So
I have a story that's somewhat similar to that. So I moved here to Nashville. I grew up in Los Angeles. I had a studio in Denver in the meantime and on the road with a band. Wound up in Nashville working for Loretta Lynn.
Oh, nice.
And so I was hired to pitch songs, write songs, and as it turned out, I'd work with Loretta whenever she had new songs to learn and go in the studio with her and Owen Bradley. And it was really, it turned out to be a great gig.
Yeah.
Well, Loretta was going to be on a TV show, and she was going to have to sing a George Gershwin song. And in the song, I'm trying to remember what the name of the song was, but in the song was a lyric that was called Hip Hip Hooray and Ballyhoo. And she says, "Joey, what does that mean? Hip, hip, hooray, and ballyhoo. What is that? Could we change that?" And I said, "Loretta, it's a George Gershwin song. People are used to hearing that song. It's from a musical."
Yeah.
And she says, "Well, I just don't like it. I'm going to change it."
You do what you want.
She did the show, but she sang Hip, Hip, Hooray, and Ballyhoo.
Oh, did she? Yeah, that's funny. That reminds me of a story. You know who Reggie Ham is? He's a songwriter here locally.
I know of Reggie, but I don't know him.
Amazing guy. He's very prolific, one of the most amazing writers I think I've ever known and been privy to. I'm a huge fan of his. But he wrote the 2008 American Idol hit that David Cook sang called "Time of My Life."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And in that song, there's this line, and Magic Rainbow line. And Reggie always mentions it. And then, he says people take issue with it, but I'm like, look, it's whatever came to my mind when I was writing it. So too bad, so sad, it's in there. And even David Cook, when we had him on Rich's show, he was like, "Yeah, I was wondering if we could change that line." And they were like, "No way, we're not changing that line." So Loretta Lynn, she that's interesting. She looks like she's a sweetheart.
She is exactly what you would expect.
Yeah.
She would sit down and talk with you, and she'd want to know all about you.
That's great. That's great.
That's just how she is.
Similar with Naomi Judd. Have you ever met any of the Judds?
Yes, I did.
She was...
I knew Naomi.
Did you? I met her once when I was selling Mercedes. She came in with her daughter, Ashley, and Ashley came in. Usually at the dealership, people would bring their pets in from time to time, but they were always on leashes. So in this particular case, because I had my desk, my office, so to speak, was next to the door, I saw a dog walk in without a leash on, and I'm sitting there, "Come on, guy, we don't mind you bringing your pet in here, but at least have him on a leash." So, and then walks a woman who looks very familiar, and I'm looking at her and going, "Why? God, who is that?" She stops as if she could read my mind, looks over at me and goes, "Hi, I'm looking for some trucks." Okay. Like pickup trucks, or we have got some vans, Sprinter vans. We're selling Mercedes at the time. No, like SUVs. Okay. "My name is Ashley." I'm like, "That's who you are." Okay. Here we go. And then in walks Naomi and her husband. I'm like, "Hey, cool. All right, here we go. Nice to meet you guys." And the same thing with Naomi. She was just zeroed in. Who you're married to? How long you been married? How many kids do you have? How long have you been? I mean, just so zeroed in on me. Very
she was so sweet.
Wonderful woman. Wonderful.
She used to work for a record. See, I lost a word. I was afraid I might lose a word. There's a word missing every day.
Happens to me all the time.
It's always something.
It is always something.
Record pressing company.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah. When I had a recording studio in Denver, and one of my clients had come in to record an album, and I was having it pressed in Nashville. And so I flew in, and she worked for Reggie Churchwell. I can't remember the name of the pressing company, but she was the receptionist.
Yeah.
And she was, at that time, she was raising 2 little kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I pretty much knew about her, but she was so
Ashley
sweet.
and Winona.
But we never got around to the names of the kids. But we were pretty much just doing business.
Right.
But she was so sweet. And can I tell you how to get there or get here? Or do you need anything while you're in town? And
really?
She was just so sweet.
So you did you stay connected with her from then on?
No.
Wow. So you knew when she hit it big, you were like, I know that.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. It's good for her.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I mean, that was early 80s, I would imagine.
That was 1980.
No, was it 1980?
79 or 80.
And you were out there, you were doing work with record pressing companies and stuff like that?
No, I had my recording studio in Denver, and a client
Colorado.
came in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was audio engineer for Air Supply. Whenever they'd come into town, they were working on demos and new songs and stuff. They'd come into my studio, and I'd work with them for a couple of days.
Were they really all out of love? Were they so lost?
I don't think so. I think it's all a big sham.
Big sham.
Yeah. I think they were doing okay.
Yeah.
They were really nice, down-to-earth guys, too.
You got to love it when you meet people that are just like that,
You know, when they turn out to be just good people, it's just such a pleasing thing.
Yeah, I was listening to some of Rich's older episodes that we did. If you listen to Rich Redmond show, there's a lot of notable guests, Joe included, that we've had over the years. Recently, well, not recently, but I've listened to this one again where we had Dan Huff on. Just to, and I even told him, I said, I've heard about you for so many years, and I've heard your name, and in your mind, you build up this character of who this person must be because they have such a monstrous career and such a monstrous reputation.
Yeah.
And then you get to meet them. And I said, God, dude, one of the things I really learned and appreciate you about, even though I've just met you an hour ago, is your humility. I said, you're cool, man. I mean, you've done so many huge things and have been part of so many huge albums. Dude, you're just hanging out, man. So you're just cool.
When I moved to Nashville, 81.
Right.
And upstairs above my apartment lived Harold Shedd. And Harold Shedd was the producer for Alabama.
Okay.
And so shortly after I had moved in, they hit it big, and Harold moved to the country.
Oh, my goodness.
That's all I got about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Alabama.
But about a year later, my sister comes into town with her family, and we're sitting at Shoney's. It's gone now, over in the Music Row area.
Okay, yeah. That's right. I remember where it was.
And so
off of Demonbrian.
Yeah, and we went in there, and we were sitting having breakfast, and Harold walks in, and he says, "Hey, Joe."
Nice.
And he comes over, and he meets the whole family and talks to them, and they think, "Wow, this is Alabama's producer."
Yeah.
But Harold was just like that.
I met, when we first moved here, Byron Gallimore.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what he's been doing lately, but I mean, somebody had mentioned my wife had to go to his house. She was working for a spa salon here locally, and she did massage therapy. So they said, hey, we've got a call out. You got to go to their house. And, Courtney was the one that would go because she had experience in Vegas and worked with high profile people a lot. Yeah. So being in Spring Hill, they're like, send Courtney. So Courtney was pregnant with our first child at the time. So I was tasked with bringing the massage table and hauling it in and setting it up so she could just go do her thing. And his wife was actually just literally had a baby. So he wanted to get her a massage. I mean, it's the worst kind of possible time you can get somebody a massage is after they've given birth. So my wife is trying to navigate it carefully, but he's asking me all about, he says, what do you, at the time I was working for Readio, And she goes, oh, well, he goes, well, you probably do a lot of what I do, like the knob twiddling and everything. And I go, dude, not on the scale that you do. Huh. No. I said, a lot of it, mine is using a mouse and a keyboard a lot. You know. I said, there's no knob twiddling what we do. Yeah. But he was really down to earth. And another person that comes to mind when I was in Vegas who remembered my name and remembered working with me was the late Alan Thicke.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He seemed like an awfully nice guy.
Just terrific. Yeah. Just terrific. He came in and recorded some commercials with us. And the second time he came in, the receptionist called me down, and she was obviously very excited. She goes, oh, my God, you wouldn't believe who's sitting in front of me. Yeah, I know. So I come down, and I go to get him and ring him up. And he's like, hey, Jim. I'm like, I appreciate that about you. Good to see you again, Mr. Thicke. Come on up. You know.
That's sweet.
Really cool guy.
That is very sweet.
Yeah. We do meet a lot of people here, though.
My band used to open for Waylon and Willie at the Golden Nugget in Vegas.
Oh, really?
Back many years ago.
Now, when you played out there, where did you play?
And at the Golden Nugget, and also played with Paul Anka at the Sahara for a little while.
Okay. Yeah, he came out to the radio station quite a bit. I don't know if he lived in Vegas or what.
Was he nice to you?
You know, it was kind of vanilla. I didn't really get a feel off of him either way. Why was he kind of surly?
I'll plead the fifth on that one too.
I'll read the room on that. The only people that really come to mind that were kind of off when I was out there, oddly enough, one was Robin Leach, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah.
And Lonnie Anderson.
Huh.
She was just really, maybe she was just having a bad day. I'll chalk it up to that. But he was just a pompous, it's too good for the room.
While we're on the topic of nice people.
Nice and naughty.
Nice famous people. So I was studying acting at the Pasadena Playhouse. And when I was still in high school, I got some classes over there through my drama teacher. And Agnes Moorehead was a volunteer coach over there. And that she was Samantha's mother on Bewitched in Dora.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And so she turned out being my acting coach.
Right.
And man, I was so blessed to be in her presence. Because, at 18, 19 years old, you don't really appreciate fully the history of somebody that has really grown to, for the public to really know who they are.
Yeah.
But she was just bigger than life. And it was, oh, darling, I have to hear you in the back of the room, But she didn't have an English accent, but she sort of did, that big Hollywood type thing. And she always had a Bible in her hand.
Really?
Agnes Moorehead. I found out years later that she grew up as a Baptist preacher's daughter.
Really?
So she was a preacher's kid.
Wow.
And I think also at the time she was being a witch on TV. So maybe it was a protection thing. I don't know.
I mean, that's it. I was wondering that myself as you said that. I said, well, she kind of did play a witch. So.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. There was I've got another one that there's a lot of people that I met you would imagine would be standoffish, but were not at all. And the other one that comes to mind was Queen Latifah. I met her in the radio station. We had two talk radios on our half of the building. We had three stations. One was a top 40, and then our stations, which were talk stations. And they would get everybody at the top 40 station. We'd get comedians and stuff like that. But she came in and delightful. Just, she didn't have an entourage, no pretenses, nothing. She just talked to everybody like she knew them forever.
Sure.
Yeah. You got to appreciate that.
That's sweet. It's good to know that about her, because I was hoping she would be that way.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, you get the feel off of people. You sometimes just know that I don't need to deal with you.
Yeah. Sometimes you get your hand slapped.
Sometimes you do. I'm not sure exactly if that ever happened with me. Alison Krauss once tried to grab my butt
Oh, that's sweet.
That would have been kind of a good story.
I'm going to see her on the 7th of September in
remind her
Franklin.
about that.
I'm going to stand as close as I can.
and just go point to your rear end and be like, hey, Jim told me. I mean, I've got a better rear end than he does. But yeah, that was an interesting story too. So getting into how you got it. So I'd imagine your recording career, very similar trajectory. That's a tough word to say, isn't it? As mine, I kind of came up and into voiceover through radio and countless thousands of scripts and tags that I've read in that business. Self-produced demos, which I know is a bane to some people's existence in the industry. How did you start getting into the voiceover acting part of it?
Well, I had worked for Loretta Lynn for a few years, and I decided that I'd rather make money than write songs. Mm-hmm. Although a lot of my friends that I wrote with back then have done well.
Yeah.
I wrote with Mark D. Sanders and Billy Dean, and I wrote a song with Billy Dean a few years ago. We still need to demo it, but pull me back in again.
Well, as far as getting into VO, because is voiceover a large part of what you do still?
Yes, it is. So after working for Loretta Lynn, deciding that I would rather make money than write songs, I got into advertising because of my experience with audio.
Right.
And so at that time, it was still pretty much analog. Mm-hmm. And I worked for an automotive syndicated advertising company for 10 years. And I had produced over 30,000 radio and TV commercial soundtracks during that time.
So just the music only, or the voiceover as well?
No, everything.
Oh, really?
Voiceover, music, sound effects, everything.
So were you the guy that was like, come on down now?
No, that wasn't me.
We got stacks and stacks of...
I was producing that guy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I created that guy.
Right.
But sometimes talent wouldn't show up or something like that, and I wound up voicing spots and I got better at it as time went along, and so pretty soon I was cast to be a particular voice for a particular dealership somewhere in Canada or wherever they were.
You were the guy for that dealership, yeah.
Yeah, and I started doing a lot of character voice work too, because as a kid I was a ventriloquist. So when other kids were out playing ball, I was coming up with voices for dummies and
throwing your voice.
And so it worked out for me later on, because after the advertising gig, I built a studio in my home. Mm-hmm. And so I was creating soundtracks for different companies and also jingles and that type of thing. And I wound up producing the soundtrack for some Disney cartoons, or cartoons that were going to be on the Disney Channel.
Oh, wow.
And so one night the producer said to me, that evangelistic praying mantis that came in here earlier, he didn't give me what I was looking for. Where am I going to find an evangelistic praying mantis at this hour? And I said, the Reverend Mantis at your service. And he said, great, get in there and do that. And so there were about, I did maybe a dozen voices in 6 different cartoons for Bobby Goldsboro. So Bobby Goldsboro around the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s had a bunch of hits. Mm-hmm. But see, this was past his prime, and he was writing scripts for the Disney Channel and PBS Kids.
And that was a time where it, I'm going to speculate, but people did pretty well at even stuff like that, where people you have to fight to not only get that kind of work these days with the amount of people that are trying to do voiceover, but also get paid equitably to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good time to do that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But that was a similar situation with me where I had just being a ham always has enabled me to find voices and, enabled me to get my voice heard was just that ham element. Like you weren't afraid to go for it,
It was Robert Redford that got me interested in doing voice work.
Really?
Because in my studio in Colorado, I was producing the soundtrack for a mountain climbing film. And the producer said that on Thursday, his buddy was coming in to narrate it. We didn't tell us who it was, but on Thursday, this black Porsche pulls up out in front of the studio, and Robert Redford gets out.
Wow.
And I'm working with Robert Redford for 2 days, and I said, I'd like to do that. Because for 2 days, he was a voice actor.
I'd like to pull up in a Porsche.
So I went out and got a new car.
So was he? I would imagine he's probably.
He was very, very nice.
Yeah.
He was very professional.
Yeah.
But he didn't sway away from talking to you about life.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Talking Life with Robert Redford. Yeah. Brought to you by Recording Studio in Denver.
So through the advertising agency, I started doing a lot of auditions. And so I got some on-camera stuff. So I put my acting skills to work that I'd learned from Indora.
Yeah.
And I was the on-camera spokesperson for Philips Magnavox during the 90s.
Oh, really?
And I also
I've probably seen you.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah. Probably did. That's why I looked so familiar that first time, remember?
Is that stuff you can find on YouTube now? Do you have any of your old reels that you put out there?
It's on my YouTube channel.
Is it? Yeah.
Joe Loesch, YouTube.
That's great stuff for even TikTok now.
I haven't done the TikTok thing.
No? I mainly put my clips from the podcast up there. I really need to get better about putting voiceover stuff because, I mean, it's one of my biggest sandboxes and I do nothing with it. It's crazy. Yeah. I just reached out to a customer the other day, a previous customer. He's like, I thought you were on hiatus. I'm going, no. I wasn't, but I'm still available. He's like, great. I'm going to put you on the short list again. Great. I don't know what gave you the idea I was on hiatus. And maybe it was because I was,
I'm really impressed with your facility here and what all
my
you
couches,
do.
Yeah.
Because my talk in Dallas a couple of weeks ago for the One Voice Conference in Dallas was my talk was, I'll have it in a second here. Your downtime is your most productive time.
Yeah.
Meaning that this is either a time for you to be perfecting your skills, but I also encourage people to go out and help others.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to take some time and listen to someone, or we're just distracted from doing something we want to do.
Right.
But there's a reason that you're there.
Or start fights on Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, about 5.
There's no reason for that.
Right.
But then the other is to create products that you own. Why not create something that you have ownership in?
Right.
So as voice actors, we're always creating products for our clients, but we could be creating products that we own.
And I know where you're going with this. You mentioned this prior to us hitting the record button. And I've always been curious about this technology being used for what we do. NFTs and voiceovers, what you're alluding to?
Well, that's one of my projects, yeah.
Okay.
So I created a 9-part video. It's all about NFTs, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency. And it explains what NFTs are, how to create them, where to place them, how to profit from them. And in this 9-part video, one of my clients... Well, my client, who used to be one of the guys that I worked with when I was producing, I produced 33 audiobooks for Dave Ramsey.
Right.
And so one of those guys whose books I produced, he wrote a couple of books while he was there, and that's Chris Hogan. And so Chris is off on his own now, and he's the financial advisor for Major League Soccer. So he heard my 9-part video. And he says, man, I love that video. Could we, since I'm their advisor, I'd like to put my voice on the video. So I did. I put his voice on the video. I recreated the soundtrack and everything. And he sold it to Major League Soccer.
Wow.
And so now he's talking to, I don't know if I can say this out. No, I better keep that to myself.
Sure.
It's sort of like a non-disclosure type thing.
I understand.
I don't want to kill the deal.
But you had also mentioned before when we were talking about BNI, prior to hitting record.
Yeah.
I said, hey, come on in to as a visitor of mine and check out BNI, hand out business cards. I don't mind sharing the spotlight with another voiceover talent, even though I have that seat and it's exclusive. But I don't mind bringing you in at all. But I mean, you said, well, I can at least teach people how to do voiceover, and you're big into that. You do a lot of the coaching as well, correct?
I do. And, even if I came over to your B&I thing, people aren't going to, our voices are so different.
Right.
Either they want that deep, dark tone, that nice tone with that.
You're not talking about me. I don't know who you're talking about.
or they want somebody that's very light and who knows.
No,
like
you've got the there's a regular guy sound to you, where it's just nice, friendly voice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what they want. They want that,
the friendly
give me that
voice.
nice guy, Joe.
Every now and then I can, what are some of the things, and I was going to ask you this before, that you've been requested to do that you're like, dude, are you kidding me? There's no way I could do that. For me, it's the English-British accent.
Oh, well, that's a different talent. Because there are people that are really good with accents, and that requires a whole other demo. Because every demo should be specific to a particular genre.
Right.
And if you're going to do an accent demo, you better be pretty good with accents.
You really should. I mean, the Irish accent I've been okay with, but for some reason, the British accent, my wife just cajoles me all the time. And I had a customer one time that I want you to do a British accent. I'm going, guy, I'll do it, but it's going to sound horrible because I can't do it. And it's funny, at the time we had a guy living with us who was British. So I think it was for an infomercial that they were running on the local cable channel at the time. And I was in my studio, I was literally doing a Robin Leach impersonation. That's all I was doing. So I opened the door, and Michael, the guy who was living with us, British guy, he's like right there as I open the door, like, dunk. And I'm going, I know. He goes, what are you doing? I go, it's what they want and they like it. I'm just going to give them what they like. I know it sounds like dog crap.
If you can pull it off, if they're paying you to do it.
I guess.
I think a lot of people listen to commercials and they say, I could do that.
Oh, yeah. It's just talking.
Oh, that guy, he's okay, but I could do that. You say, yeah, but he's the guy that's getting paid to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like people who look at what Rich does for. I could play like him and all those types. Well, go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
knock yourself out.
Ahead.
Do a 3.5-minute song nearly perfectly with taste and articulation and dynamics and professionalism, and hammer it out in 3.5 minutes without missing a beat. Literally, no pun intended.
No, call Rich.
Yeah, that's why he gets paid what he gets paid. And, he's a professional. He's a pro. Similar with voiceover talent. I mean, a lot of people that, one of the things that you probably hear like I do when you get a new student that wants to get into voiceover, I've always been told that I
have a good voice.
Amen. Ding, ding, ding. Where's my sound effect?
90%.
I got a sound effect here somewhere.
Can't move on until I hear the sound effect.
Let's do a scream. But I mean, how many times do we hear that?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. But I think that they think that that's pretty unique. Right. I'm here because someone told me I have a good voice.
Right.
I say, well, meet the rest of the people in the room.
Yeah.
They're probably here for the same reason. And that's great because it's encouraging. And you need to have support and an encouragement out there to move forward.
Yeah.
And having a good voice is one thing, but knowing what to do with it.
The ham factor, I call it, Can you use that voice?
Yeah.
Can you, people know that I do voiceover work for a living because I constantly sound like this.
Sure. Okay.
I project my voice all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just something I've conditioned myself to do because of what I've done for the past 25 years.
But you sound very natural when you do it.
I guess. I don't sound conversational at all.
That's what my job is. My job is to help people sound conversational.
Yeah.
Because they'll finish that first sentence and they'll end up on the end of the sentence.
Oh, that's crazy.
It sounds like, okay, that's it. Oh, wait, there's more.
Yeah.
It's not like an indication that there's going to be more.
I call it the suggestive versus the definitive tone.
Yeah.
And I say, every single time I get somebody new, I said, we're going to go through this because everybody does. for whatever reason, when we read something and we're speaking it out loud, we want to talk like this and leave a lilt at the end of the sentence. And for some reason, I said, guys, I do it too. 20 some odd years after doing this, I listen back to my stuff and I'm like, dang it, I got to really hammer that out. So there's a closing or a affirmation statement in selling that I heard being used, and several people that I know would use it. And it's the statement, does that make sense? So I said it flatly just there because a lot of people will say it. Does that make sense? And then I had a guy, a sales trainer. He says, try saying that like, does that make sense? Because not only it doesn't. When you say, does that make sense? It sounds
like you're questioning yourself.
It sounds like you don't have confidence and that you're speaking down to them.
Exactly.
Now, if you say, does that make sense? It has confidence and power behind it.
Sure.
and it's one of the best examples I use in my coaching.
Yeah, and I say, well, say, does that make sense? Or say, does that make sense?
Does that make sense?
It's just real easy to slow something down because sometimes people will just be the same tempo all the way through a narration.
Yeah.
And the listener has a tendency to just...
Yeah. You got to surprise them.
Surprise them and just slow it down.
Yeah. Totally. But I mean, it's like Groundhog Day sometimes with coaching because you talk about the same stuff over and over again.
Sure.
Every now and then you get that one client that's like, oh, yeah, you're going to, this is going to be expedient.
Well, see, my job with Dave Ramsey was when one of his presenters, whether it was his daughter Rachel or one of the presenters like Christy Wright, or when they would come in, I say, okay, first of all, you're not on stage delivering to 400, 500 people,
Yeah.
Now put on the headphones and talk to me, one person, because there's only going to be one person at a time that has those headphones on that's listening to your story. And this is a story. Even though all this information is going to help them, there's a story here, So let's become a storyteller and not go so fast that we lose them along the way.
And that for audiobook narration, that's a talent. Especially when you get the people who do all the different voices and characters.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
it's a real talent to go from the narrator to a character to another character, back to the narrator again. Because your listener has to know who's speaking at any time.
And you got to remember how they sounded.
Sure.
You ever go back to an old spot and you got to listen to the previous one to go, okay, I read it like that. I do that all the time.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never done it there. I've done 1 or 2 audiobooks, but they were main, business finance type books. They weren't fiction.
Yeah. I've produced about 600 audiobooks. I've narrated maybe 125, 150, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not my favorite thing to do.
Oh, it's a grind.
I love to do corporate narrations.
Really?
In commercials.
Corporate narrations is Smile City.
Sometimes, and sometimes not. Because like when you're doing something for Boeing Aviation, they're one of my clients. And so some of the technical jargon is so deep,
Yeah.
And they're creating new parts for aircrafts and other things all the time. And so sometimes they'll come in with something like there's a team in Brazil and there's a team in Germany, and they're competing against each other for a big reward.
Oh, really?
And so those can be a lot of fun because there's a lot of tongue in cheek, and I love when those come along because those are just fun.
I've got an on-hold message client that likes superhero voices. So I'm kind of reading like this all the clear my voice. I'm reading like this all the time, like the old-timey,
yeah.
And, meanwhile...
1924.
Superman comes racing down the street in his skivvies. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we want you to sound like a superhero. Okay. Who?
Well, see, when I'm producing voiceover demos, I go back to theater of the mind from the 20s and 30s and 40s, and when they were doing live sound effects, that type of thing.
As it was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I started doing audiobooks back in the mid-90s, I was actually putting a soundscape to some of the scenes. Like if we were talking about Bonnie and Clyde and they were holding up a bank, I wouldn't hear the feet running out of the hallway and out into the street and the car doors slamming and peeling off down the street and some shots going off. well, I wouldn't put a soundscape under everything, but some scenes just cried for that.
Yeah. So you could put some production value.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's where the theater of the mind came from. But as audiobooks progressed and up until today, there's probably no music, no sound effects. It's just we have to rely on the voice to do the whole story.
Yeah.
To keep the listener enthralled.
And a lot of it, I've never understood how to price audiobooks, for compensating myself. I just had no idea. That's why I never really pursued it.
Well, generally it's a per hour, finished hour.
Right.
But see, I did a 9-hour audiobook some years ago. It's called The Power of Hope. It was one of the editors for Guidepost magazine. It was about his drug and alcohol abuse and his road to recovery. And that 9-hour audiobook took me 36 hours to produce.
Yeah.
But you get paid for the finished hour.
Right.
But see, up until that point, I was just, well, I'll do it for this or I'll do it for that. But I finally came to the realization that if you're going to spend that much time on one project and you have to put other projects on hold, it's just not going to be worth it. So I just kind of have a figure that if somebody says, will you do my book? I said, yes. What's your price? And I'll give them that price. And it'll either scare them off or they'll say, okay.
Well, with that, you have the leverage to do that, though. You're able to, you've got other things going on that kind of.
Yeah. I've been doing this for over 40 years. So I have an advantage. And I realize that. And I feel very blessed. I'm living the dream right now. I'm doing voiceover. I'm teaching voiceover. And I'm playing with my band. And I am so happy to be where I am right now.
I think I want to grow up to be like you. And I think I can really, I know I can coach voiceover. I've done it, that skill set was developed in radio with a lot of clients coming in who wanted to read their own ad. And
sure, you had to direct them.
You had to coach them, really, and
that's where a lot of people have trouble is becoming self-directable.
Right. Well, even when their own VO talent.
Yeah.
I say one of the biggest parts about being a VO talent or an artist is you got to be your own biggest critic.
Yeah.
And you got to be listening back to your stuff. I call it the read, record, listen back.
But the nice part about that is that if you've got control over your software, recording, playback, editing, you just edit out the bad, keep the good, send it off to the client. You're a genius.
What do you think for somebody getting into the business who wants to, explore the Fiverr, the Upworks, all those, or even their own backyard? What is the biggest skill set they can learn to develop?
Well, when you had mentioned Fiverr, there's some people doing well on Fiverr, but you don't do well with it when you start out.
No, you got to work for it.
You have to remember that you're setting yourself up as cheap. And so if you set yourself up as cheap, it's really hard to get out of that.
It can be. It's arguable. I mean, there's perceptions and things of that nature.
It's like ACX.com where you go in and you do a royalty share with a writer. Well, if the writer's never sold a book before, how many books are you going to sell?
Right.
What are you going to do with that $5 6 months down the road?
Right.
And so if you set yourself up, say they come back a year later and say, hey, I wrote another book. I'd like for you to do that book too. Say, well, yeah, will you do the royalty share? Sure, but I'm also going to need $150 per finished hour.
Yeah.
Say, well, why? You did it for a royalty share last time.
Yeah, well, it didn't really work.
I made $5.
Yeah.
So now they're off looking for the next person that wants to get their feet wet.
Well, I mean, the best thing you can do in that situation is at least give them a good experience and they remember you.
That's true.
And say, you look at all the joyful benefits you can actually say, it may not be a fit this time, but, if it ever comes to the point where you're able to, we can work together again, now you've set the bar. Now you're able to say, hey, what it's like to work with me and the product that you got from me, it's only going to get better. You starting out writing a book, your advance may not be as large, but the next book you write, the third, the fourth, the fifth, you're going to expect bigger advances and bigger paydays and stuff as you get more successful. So it's fair to expect that, as my career progresses on, we go up, not that we don't stay the same. So does that make sense?
Yeah. Does that make sense.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of, you've seen me teach that in the past, to come back, because a lot of people get emotional in the business about the the rates being driven down so low, the bottom feeders, as they call it. And I'm like, if you could make a living doing this, and the fact of the matter is there's so many people coming in, they're so interested in getting into the business, and if they're excited about making $40 for a 10-minute read or whatever, good for them. Okay, there's going to be low cost options no matter what. We are being commoditized. We're not as special as we thought we were until we get those conversations going with our clients and we can show them how special we are. Yeah. And that's that's where the pivot comes in, in my opinion.
I think people in advertising and in production companies, they've gone to school, they've got years of training, and they paid a lot for college, But when they hire a voice talent, they say, "Well, I can get so and so to do it over here for $50. Why am I going to pay you $150?" Well, they're not considering how much time that it took them to learn to be able to walk into your studio and knock out that script.
Of course they're not, because they don't really know better, and they don't need to learn that. Because that's in their mind. I'm a customer, and why would I pay you more and pay him less? Okay, now it's incumbent upon you to explain that. What is your manifesto of value? And okay, completely fair question. I get it all the time.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Here we go. And let's tick them off, because boom, 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 and as long as you have that in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to go with them, I completely agree. I mean, we talked about it when we sold cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's what you're going to get if you choose me.
Right. Right. Exactly. When I had a customer that was on at one of the other dealerships that was a secondhand dealership, but they dealt mostly in luxury cars like us, Mercedes. Well, we can get a same year model vehicle, relative mileage, relative package options, all that stuff and it's $2,500 less. I said, we're in the internet age. You can find this car cheaper anywhere else, but do you want to know why this car is better? It's not my car. It's not my car. That car over there that you're competing against, it isn't this car. This car is certified by the brand. Okay. And they get all their cars reconditioned by us. We know what goes into them and what is spent on them.
Yeah.
Okay. But if money's off the table, not an object, everything was equal, which one would you rather go with? And this is a good little, whenever you get somebody, well, he's this and you're this. What's the difference? Well, all things being equal, who would you rather go with?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to go with you. Great. Why is that? Well, and they start closing themselves.
Well, let's see. You're more professional.
Right. Right. Great.
You've got a great demo.
Yeah. You've done this a long time. Yeah. You've got pedigree. You've got credibility. You know what you're doing. You give me a ton of value. Okay, great. This is why it costs an extra $200. Let's do this.
Yeah.
That's what it has to become. And I think a lot of people miss that. I've done this so long and I don't crack my mic for less than $350. Okay. Who's asking you to do it for any less? I'll talk to them.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell you that. Well, why not? You don't want to work with them. I'll work with them. Like, who are you talking to? What do they want? At least work on your sales game,
If you're interested in voiceover, you could go to joelesch.com.
That's right.
And that's Loesch.
And as we were having this fantastic conversation, let's kick this off. All right. We got to do this. It's the whole impetus and purpose of the podcast. Mr. Joe Loesch, what is your problem?
What is my problem?
It's certainly not pricing. You've got a really fun life. You're able to do voiceover coaching, and play in a band. I mean, that's a dream.
Hey, by the way, my band's going to be playing downtown Franklin, September 24th at Puckett's.
Nice. We'll go out and check Mr. Joe Loesch out, slapping the bass.
The Road Crew.
The Road Crew. And you do what kind of music?
We're primarily a rockabilly band. Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, Rick Nelson. Yeah, man.
Yep. Yeah.
And we're a lot of fun. We have a good time. We'll entertain you.
There you go.
And I believe we play at 8:30 that evening. So
I think Courtney and I should really come out and check you out one of these days.
you should. Yeah. That'd be great.
Puckett's downtown Franklin.
September
8-ish, September 21st.
8:30, September 24th.
24th.
Saturday.
Okay. 2 days after our anniversary.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like a week after my wife's birthday.
Oh, very nice.
Hey, we'll all go out.
I'm telling you, my wife's birthday is September 8th.
Oh, okay.
She was born
19th for Lori. Yeah,
very
how
cool.
about that?
We're the 22nd for our anniversary. So what? Get back to the question. What's the thing you're dealing with? It's always something.
What am I dealing with? you know, life is so good. I just feel so blessed. I'm doing what I love to do every day, and and it is true. They say, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm building business cards with my pal Keith.
That's right.
I do have my business card right
He
here.
came to BNI the other day, and I put up his QR code on the screens.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's my digital business card.
Yeah, if you're watching the video, I don't know if I could zoom in on this. I'm pretty sure I can. Mm-hmm. Maybe not while we're. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm zooming in as much as I can. So there you go.
Should I put up the scan code?
His contact is on the phone. I have the same kind of situation on my phone.
Yeah.
Digital business cards. You think that's where it's going to be going, right?
Oh yeah. You know, it's a touchless world.
Yeah.
You know, people
don't want to touch business cards. You know? Yeah. I've heard on another podcast that there's actually judgment cast if people still have business cards.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
Now, for example, the other night, Keith and I were at and the guy who builds my card, Keith Troop, and that's Keith at BApp, A-P-P, BAppsolute.com.
We'll have to put a link in the description for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can do. So we were at a networking thing just a couple of nights ago, and I was showing my business card to a few people, and they scanned it, and they said, okay, you know, my information will go directly into your address book. Mm-hmm. So when we used to go to conventions or events like that, we'd have to go home and take all the cards and then put all that information into the, but this does it for you.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
And it's funny because I mean I wish I would have known of his service prior to this, but we got ours. I can't remember the name of the company, but I've got 2 different business cards on my phone that people can scan.
Well, the downside was that they had fish bowls there to drop your cards into, so you could win stuff. And I went, well, I can't drop my phone in there.
That's a big data grab for the person getting the business cards.
Oh, but my wife has her artwork up at Sweetwater's Coffee and Tea on Nolensville Road at Lenox Village.
Right.
I thought I'd throw that in.
Well, you put some QR codes on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we put some QR codes on that. And we've got a thing where if you go in and you take a selfie with her artwork and then you tag her on Facebook with it, then you're eligible to win one of her pieces of art, a print.
Very cool.
Framed print.
Nice. So is it mostly canvas, painting, that kind of stuff?
It's canvas, it's acrylic, but it looks oil.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And it's all scripture based.
Is.
Every piece that she does is all scripture based.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. Very cool. So the card thing is a side hustle, and the little device to your right there is also another side hustle.
Oh,
you want to talk about that?
Oh, this device over here.
I found it fascinating. You came into the house and you're wearing it around your neck,
like so.
And in the age of COVID,
this puts out a protective shield around you, like an arm's length,
I think that's
all
great.
the way around you. It's NASA technology, and
and it kills all the. When was the last time you were sick?
Oh gosh, we got COVID in July of 2020.
Okay.
And that was it.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that was it, one time. So we've both been fit as a fiddle. And by the way, you mentioned the products on the front end of the program.
Yeah.
Because we're all into that, like the collagen and keto and healthy foods, healthy eating.
Well, you're a picture of health in general.
Oh, well, thank you.
If I look half as good as you do when I kind of get to your age, that will be great.
Yeah.
Not that you're much older than I am. I know it's like I'm sitting
old enough. I'm old enough to be your big brother.
There you go. We'll go with that for sure. But I mean that device right there. Where do we get that? I'm really interested in that.
CleanAirPro.biz.
And is that your?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Yeah. So I do have some side hustles.
Yeah, you're like a real,
I'm just creating these learning projects. They're all going to be on mojotv.com eventually. I haven't set up the academy yet, but I'm starting to sell my books. I've got like 20 books that I've written.
Well, that little device, if I could, provide a little bit of solving a problem in general, is great for voiceover people because, every little piece of content you put out and be like, hey, this piece of content brought to you by Boom. And then, this is the thing that if you're a voiceover talent, the last thing you want to be is sick because your livelihood depends on your health and your voice sounding good. And this is going to prolong the times between you being sick because this is what it does. Blah blah blah. Check it out here. Let's get on to the content.
When my wife and I go out, we both have our air. It's called Fresh Air Personal, and we both have these on, and we just feel like we're so well protected. And other people will be wearing masks. The fibers in the mask are that big, and the virus is
that big. Yeah, it's still going to get in.
And so, but this kills anything around you.
And COVID and even more, all that stuff. So I'm very fascinated with that because
and this runs about $179. But that's a small price to pay. For
I
health.
thought it was an AirPods case when you came in. I'm like, it's huge for an AirPods case, but I'm going, it's got to be something else.
You have one of those?
An AirPods case?
Yeah.
Readily available? No.
Okay.
Not around me, but I mean, they're about...
Is that what you're giving away for the show today?
Yeah, sure, why not? Okay. A free AirPods case without the AirPods. That's what I thought it was when you first came in. I mean, I was like, I'm not sure. I thought it was like a heart monitoring device or something, but it's a very sleek, if you're not watching the podcast, it's a sleek white, picture an AirPods case, just slightly larger with a lanyard around it.
Yeah, it can hang around your neck, or you can separate it from the lanyard.
Yeah. And put it in like your front pocket or something, right?
Yeah, you could. Sometimes I'll just stick it in this pocket right here.
And it's still effective even though it's inside of the pocket? Really?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's got a clip for the pocket right there.
Okay.
So you can either hang it on the front of the pocket, but even if I put it on the backside, it's still sticking out.
Buddy, you should come to BNI and just plug that. Totally. Voiceover.
So many things I should do.
You really are. I didn't realize how much of an enterprising entrepreneur you are.
You could sit it on your desk.
Yeah.
Like you go into the coffee shop, you can sit it right there on the table, and you can protect 2 or 3 people.
That's right. And then tell them that you're recording the conversation.
And that I'm saving their life right at that moment.
And you've got, I'm trying to think, you've got those two, you got the business cards, the air nebulizer thingy, and you've got Mojo Fridays.
Mojo Friday videos. Those are tips and tricks for voice actors, and they're distributed through voiceoverextra.com.
Nice.
They put them out on the first and third Friday of each month. Nice. Yesterday was...
I saw that today.
What day is this?
Today is the 19th.
Oh, it's Mojo Friday.
It is.
It's today.
I saw yours today. Yeah, it came out.
Good. Well, thank you for watching.
Yeah, I saw that it came out. Always good voiceover tips and tricks for sure. You've got the voiceover coaching business. You've got, I mean, you just got your fingers in everything.
Yeah, and Keith and I also have an animation software. It's called Doodle Splash, doodlesplash.com. And you've seen the hand come up and write things on the screen like that.
Really?
Well, this will do that, but it'll also take your script, like you could write your script ahead of time, put it into the software, and it'll create a video for you.
So with all these things going on, you don't have any problem to talk about? You need a link tree. Do you have a link tree? Where everybody
that sounds like a problem.
The link tree does, or
link tree? What is it?
So it sounds like to me with all the things that you do, and you're getting these, these what do they call them? The affiliate deals, I guess, is how it's constructed. A lot of people who do that, who are influential, and a lot of these things play into under the umbrella of voiceover. You can cross the connection.
They do
with the device and the business cards and things of that nature.
See, this is a small version of what we've got in our house.
Oh, really?
Now, the unit in our house is about this big. It's very light, but it covers up to 3,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
So when somebody walks into our house and they go, "Whoa, what's different?"
Yeah.
You're breathing fresh air.
Oh, really?
It's around you 24 hours a day.
Interesting. Because, I'm even thinking that as that gets popular, the designs you can do, and like similar to the cases you can buy for the AirPod case, little designs and stuff like that. It can be a fashion accessory.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it.
There you go.
I like that.
But I mean, I think ultimately with all the things that you do, at least I see a lot of influencers doing this. They have a Linktree page with all the links to buy the stuff that they endorse.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
This way you could send them to that page.
I need one more thing. One more thing. But that sounds like a good thing.
It is a good thing because it's all right there in one spot. You know,
Okay.
hey, if you want to learn more about it, just go to boom. You know what I mean? Whatever the joesstuff.com, and it points right to that page. And you have that page linked from your website.
Yeah,
as well.
and see, today, because of what us talking today, I'm going to go home and put a link on my joelesch.com to cleanairpro.biz.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Or just put, here's really good things that put a tab on your page that says, my gear that I use, and put all your gear on the page and all your different links to buy it so you get the kickbacks, right?
And I do have a lot of codes for different products and that sort of thing.
I should do that on my site. I haven't done that on mine. But I mean, that's a similar situation to a Linktree. So
when we're done here, let's work on our sites.
With all the time I have. But that's something, as I'm speaking, that's a problem that I have because there's a lot of things that I use. I mean, for example, this Rodecaster here that I use for podcasting, I must have sold 25 of these things for Greg Glazer up at GC Pro because he gives us the industry accommodated pricing. And I'm using quotation marks in the air. And he really hooks up everybody I send to him. Yeah,
and I push this microphone that I think new talent should consider,
right?
Which is the SE2200. It's from SE Electronics, and see that SE Electronics was owned by Rupert Neve,
right?
And Rupert Neve designed the Neve recording consoles. It's one of the most sought after recording consoles all over the world from major recording studios.
I've seen the name.
Well, he sold that off. And then he started designing these microphones. And he's got this little microphone, the SE2200, that's $295. But I promise you, it performs like a $2,000 microphone.
No kidding.
It's amazing.
I just tell people to get SM58s. You know, and that's maybe something I need to you send me the link.
Don't make me come over there.
I'm like, that's that. I did a video on the Rodecaster in my kitchen saying this is such a great machine because you can literally plug a stage mic into it and do a podcast in your kitchen and have it sound good. And I did the whole video. You hear the audio from the unit. So I mean, it's that I'm like, if you want to know how to learn more about this, let's talk.
And because of preconceptions, like people in the business, the professionals out there, the people that you're going to deal with when you do actual projects for clients in other states. And you're recording from your home studio to their studio through the digital connections. There's so much to the voiceover that we just can't cover it all right now.
It's so dynamic. There's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for since 97, so going on 25 years. I'm still green.
Yeah. I think it was probably 84 where I really started using my voice rather than on-camera acting, although I did a bunch of that too during the 90s. But I discovered that I really like to act for the microphone, not the camera. And when you're doing when you're doing live shoots, you're always waiting on something, whether it's script changes or it's cloud cover or it's audio or waiting on this or waiting on that. But when you're in the studio and you're working on your project, it's just you and the microphone.
Yeah.
And that's pretty sweet.
And you in your own head because you're wearing headphones. Do you wear headphones when you record?
I do.
Yeah. Some people.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I vacillate. I go back and forth. But lately I've been enjoying just having them on.
Well, see, if I'm recording with my headphones on and I hear a mouth click, then I'll just say that sentence over again because later on I can take out the bad sentence, leave in the good, and I haven't messed up my flow. I haven't gotten out of character because I got frustrated by not saying it right.
Usually when I come across the words that I can't say, with the headphones on, it's actually helpful regularly.
Sure. And I always do tongue twisters before I do a script anyway.
What's a good tongue twister?
Well, my friend Woody got a shingle shot, and I didn't know what a shingle shot was. I said, what did you get that for? And he says, well, when you become a senior, you get a shingle shot to keep from getting shingles.
Right.
I said, so you got a senior shingle shot? Yeah.
A
Did you go
senior
by
shingle
yourself, or did Carol go with you? I went by myself. Oh, so you got a single senior shingle shot.
Oh, my God.
I said, who gave you that? And he said, my nurse, Sheila. She was really shy, but good with a needle. I said, so you got a single senior shingle shot from a shy she named Sheila, a sure shot with a sharp syringe?
Oh, my goodness, dude.
So
You're turning my brain into macaroni and cheese.
I love to make up my own tongue twisters.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Thank you so much.
I've gotten better. You and I have talked about the word, the bane to my existence, regularly. I've gotten better at it, though. And it's thanks to you, because every time I go into my voiceover studio, I have one little item that sits in front of me, and every time I see it, I think of Joe.
The cork?
The cork.
That's
right.
Good. That's a great exercise.
It really is. And every time I tell people about it, I make sure to give you credit.
Well, thank you,
You're
Jim.
welcome. I've learned this from a good friend of mine, Joe Loesch. I said it's a cork, or you could stick your thumb in your mouth and like that.
Now I feel complete.
Well, it is Friday, and I guess we'll end on that note, on a feeling of completeness. Where can people follow and find you and all that fun stuff?
JoeLoesch.com. Also, Joe Loesch on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Okay.
I use those 3 social media platforms. I could use more, but I don't want to become an internet hermit.
An internet hermit or a superstar. One of the two may happen.
I don't want to be a superstar. Life is too good right now.
Yeah. Keep it where it is and go from there. So there you go, JoeLoesch.com. Link will be in the description and all that fun stuff. And of course, check us out. If we could be doing any better, if you know somebody who is a good fit for the podcast, let me know. If you've got questions, please rate and follow and subscribe. Spread the word for us. whatsyourproblempodcast.com. Check us out. And again, Joe, always a pleasure to see you.
It was good to see you, Jim.
Thanks for having on, buddy.